Stay strong and live long for us. And let's continue to tap in your well of wisdom. So happy birthday to you. If it's your birthday as well, happy birthday to you. And I'm sure you're putting together your New Year resolutions. I hope it just doesn't last through the month of January. It goes beyond that. But I've been joined in studio by Mr. Richard Kumado. He's a fraud and security analyst. He's joined me in studio here for our news review segment of the show. You can always join us with your thoughts and comments on WhatsApp. The number will be on your screen shortly. And also on Twitter, Facebook, and Instagram. We will share your thoughts and comments with the rest of the wonderful world. If you have questions on your mind, I'm sure it's the right time to push them. Sir Rich, good morning. How are you doing?
Good morning, Johnny.
Good to have you.
Thank you.
New Year resolutions coming up?
Let Ghana be a better place for all of us.
Let Ghana be a better place for all of us. I see. That's broad. Anyway, reflections for 2020. Have you any? I mean, any of your top issues that you would want to push forward in 2020?
2020, insecurity has been a major issue. We had a contestable election, and COVID has been a major issue. I took time off to write about 2 to 3 books, which I'll be publishing next year. And I think as we go into 2021, we must increase productivity to make up for whatever we might have lost in the year 2020.
I see. So for you, top 3, COVID,
insecurity.
Insecurity.
Then there has been lack of productivity in the public space due to the overtures of whatever happened to COVID. And I think we didn't manage it properly. Our distribution system will need to be broadened a bit to take all of the vulnerable. And I think as we go into 2021, we must come together as a nation to be able to bring everybody on board. In that way, we may not be having the kind of issues we have where some people are so down there and some other people are up. It creates a middle of mismatch issues for us.
I see. Now, let's stay a bit on COVID because it also borders on security, particularly to the extent that we know we have COVID-19 protocols. We signed off the EI-64. We impose restrictions, the do's and don'ts. The president continually has been, for example, mentioning that the pubs and bars and beaches are supposed to be closed. The president has been mentioning that over and over again. We've seen the campaigns. We saw the COVID-19 protocols being broken here and there. Now the president comes on later after the campaigns to make an appeal to all of us to start abiding by it. Is it your opinion that we have been judicious enough to the protocols? COVID-19, especially now the world is getting a second wave?
Not really, because I think COVID was not meant for Africa in the first place. Then, politicians already, they deliberately lowered the bar for COVID so that they could have political campaigns. Now campaigns are over, so I can understand the president saying that he's pleading with the people, let's go back and adhere to the protocols. And I think we will do better with it if we manage it well, except for the demonstrations and the level of transmission on the horizontal level from person to person. That is what we need to be worried about. Otherwise, we should build enough capacity to be able to deal with. One of the things I'll be saying is that sometimes they say we have 500 people recovering.
That's right.
We have 300 people recovering when they haven't been to any prayer camp or something. Let us know what is actually aiding the recovery rate. Then we will not be worrying about who had COVID and who hasn't got COVID. I understood the president some time ago say we should be eating dawa,
right,
and all that. My mom, who is a medical practitioner, will say we should add more ginger and lemon and hot tea or something, Lipton, of course. Then some of those things as Africans, I think it will help us to be able to be strong, build the immune system. I know Soboro is also good. Let's promote made in Ghana good and fight this go-fed and overcome it so that the whites will come to learn from us.
Right. Well, Mr. Kwame Ochedako has also joined us. He is a development consultant and a democratic activist. Sir, welcome. Thank you. Thank you very much indeed. Business development consultant. Thank you very much for coming. 2020, New Year resolutions yet?
I am not trying too much to make any resolutions because I've come to learn something in this past year that you cannot practically tell what is going to happen. Yes, it's good to plan, but COVID has taught us a lot of things. So what I would say is that in 2021, I'm just going to live a very cautious life, and I'm going to take one day at a time.
What would be your top 3 reflections for 2020 in terms of national drive? You're a business development consultant, so economy will come to you, employment, job creation, wealth creation, and if you like, general management of the country.
Two major things will come to mind. One, to look at the effect that initiatives have on the people of the country, drilling a bit deeper to its implementation, and then also how prepared we have to be as a country for stuff like COVID. Yes, it is true. Even the first world countries have suffered a lot with that virus. A lot of things have changed economically, especially in the area of job losses and then diminishing of margins, business margins that have led to companies collapsing and whatnot and what have you, especially SMEs. So the two main things that I've been looking at in the past year is how prepared we are as a country in the area of emergencies, how robust our economy is to be able to withstand shocks like COVID. So there's a whole lot to learn from what has happened in 2020. How we're going to prepare ourselves for stuff like this should it happen in the future. What it means for the ordinary Ghanaian when it happens. Because after all, it's the people we are governing. I mean, without the people, there's no government. So I like to look at, if you want, for a want of a better word, the bright side of all the things that happened in 2020, which obviously is what we have learned and what we're doing going forward.
Right. Okay. Now, then the question of job creation comes. I mean, we've seen the government bandy some figures about over 2 million jobs have been created, sector by sector. Some of the key actors in those sectors have challenged some of the figures that have come up. For example, government keeps trumpeting 100,000 NAPCO beneficiaries.
Yes.
The finance minister was in parliament to say it's 97,373. Of course, he spoke under oath. So you can't, dispute his figures over what is being shared in the public domain as 100,000. But the reality of the conversation is that as a people, we seem to have politicized nearly everything, including job creation that will create wealth for us and survival. What should change in 2021?
Hughes, this thing has been a canker to a country like Ghana, and it's effectively spread into all jurisdictions and all industries. Let me take it from this side. The understanding of your parliamentarians, of your opinion leaders in government, and the understanding of the people they represent have even caught on to this canker. So you hear parliamentarians saying that, when I was in power or when I was an MP, do you know the number of people I took to the military?
Right.
Do you know the number of people I took to the police and immigration? Do you know what I did for nursing placements? I managed for nursing
Teacher
training and all that. So the cancer has climbed all the way to the top. And it's going to take us a lot of effort and a lot of time to bring it back to what it's supposed to be. With the job creation figures that you mentioned, and the president is talking about 100,000, finance minister talking about 97,000 and all that, I would not bother too much about that. 97,000 and 100,000 are not too far apart, and it's different when you're talking under oath, and it's different when you're making a presentation and you're rounding figures as to what you believe has happened on the ground.
Right.
But
it has financial implications, because if you say a wage bill for 100,000 people,
Yeah.
and there's actually 97,000 people who are benefiting, then there's an excess that is not being properly accounted for, perhaps.
Okay, the president can always come and tell you that this is the projected figure, or this is the plan that we are rolling out.
Right.
But as at the time the finance minister was speaking in Parliament, we had done 97,000 so and so amount.
Okay.
And we look forward to adding up to the 100,000.
100,000, right.
It's still not an accurate reportage from the president if compared to what the finance minister is saying. But you see, it is not only about the jobs that we have created, but we need to drill a bit further and see what effect or what the process of the job creation is. Must I belong to a particular political party? Must I be from a particular tribe? Must I be a member of a particular church? Those are the things that we need to look at critically, because after all, the main objective is to create a level playing field for everybody. So if my job earning, or if me getting a job is about my MP being influential and having connections at the right places, so he can say, okay, put up a list of 100 people, I have 100 slots in the military. How do you get 100 slots in the military as an MP?
It's powerful. It's connected to government.
You see, but that is...
It has connections.
That is what we need to shy away from. That is what we need to discourage. Okay, so the guy in Kwesimintim, whose MP is focused on working on good laws that will affect everybody, including his own constituency, and having gone out there to go and do connections with the military or the immigration or the police, do you want to call him a failed MP? No, you don't want to call him a failed MP, because he's rather working on what he's mandated to do. Okay, so we must do everything to create a level playing field for everybody, devoid of your MP having connections or you coming from one tribe or the other, or you doing whatnot. Now, in the job creation area, I think that a year and a couple of months ago, I happened to be in a place, the Lands Commission.
Okay.
And I hadn't been there for a while. For some reason, I saw quite a lot of young men walking up and down, and you see one able-bodied young man holding one file, walking from one end of the block to the other. And then you meet also several of them holding single files. So I asked a friend of mine who worked there, and I said, but is there any special project going on here? I see too many young people. And he said, oh, NAPCO. I was like, oh, okay. So I was tempted, and I spoke to a few of them. And the response was very lukewarm. Yes, excited that we've gotten an opportunity to work, but is our payment going to come as it's supposed to be? Because we have gone a couple of months in there and we still haven't seen payment. Then you go to the other side, where are we using our man capital or our human resource in a smart manner? Must we clamp 100 young graduates into Lands Commission only for them to go and move files from one office to the other? Do we have systems in place such that when we want to give somebody a job, the person will be obliged or will be programmed to give out his best. Because if I had gone to the faculty of Agric and graduated from, say Kwame Nkrumah University, and I don't have a job, and government comes and say, I'm going to create jobs for people, and then I move out there, I get a job, and my job is to be moving files around. You know, that's not a very good start for me.
Do we train our graduates to give them employable skills? Because for most of them, and for those of you who hire people and actually consult for people, interview new talents, you always come back and say, a person has good grades, he has a good certificate, he has a good pass mark, but the person doesn't have the employable skills, or the person knows what's just on the paper, but how to be innovative, to be able to rake in some more and add on to the institution. It is not present.
It's not. And you see, we've been playing on the theme of past glories for a long time. I remember sometime last year, Senor Hosi had a huge row with
his alma mater,
University of Ghana. And I saw a lot of people write some crazy stuff about that particular issue, that he needs to calm down. He went through the school. But you see, Ghana must start appreciating people who are being honest with situations. It is a fact that as we speak now, the main government universities that we have are turning out graduates that business people, private institutions don't want to work with, unless you have a budget to retrain immediately when you employ. So you can go and check the statistics. The Ashasi graduates are picking up most of the good jobs in the country. I remember when I was going into the banking industry as a young graduate, GT Bank will run a training session, and then you will write an exam. And then
we spent we spent 3 months at the orientation.
Okay, so you know Tutu.
Yeah.
Okay, so
I was at GT Bank.
Okay,
Before
good.
you even graduate.
Exactly.
And if you fail at the orientation, you're
That's
never
it.
going to enter
You don't
the
get
banking hall.
you don't get the job. But you know the funny thing, the training was so rigorous and good to the extent that after you've written the exam and GT Bank have picked what they want, then the rest of the banks get to pick. They pick the others.
I see.
On the basis that they've gone through
GT Bank
rudimental training.
Yes, GT Bank training. So you, as an employer, you need to be prepared to put up a budget and say, okay, I'm going to pick these guys, but they're going to go straight through training. Why is it so? Why must it be so?
Richard, why must it be so is the question. But then again, you will, and I want just to stick with the security bit that he mentioned.
We both are GT Bank, so we are products of GT Bank.
I know.
Let's celebrate GT Bank this morning for making us who we are.
They will give us a bill, Richard.
I will give you a bill. but let's stay on the security bit, Richard, where I grew up in a barracks. An officer higher in rank to you backs out a command or an instruction, and that's what you do. These days, you will find people in uniforms, and their officers talk to them, and they don't listen. And some people tell me that, oh, it's because a certain big man brought them in there, so they feel they are not answerable to their immediate superiors, but they are answerable to a certain superpower who is not even part of the fraternity. What does this mean for us as a people going forward?
It's dangerous. When I was going to the BNI, we were over 200 to 300 people who started the process. After 2-3 years of background checks, they pick qualify for first. And there's a section in the BNI that only 2 or 3 of us ended up going there. Right. And I've said it severally. Today, even if they are appointing ministers of state, nobody does background checks for them. Your Supreme Court judges, how many hours did it take to vet them? Have you seen the background checks report on them? We have messed up the recruitment processes. We have messed up everything that got to do with training. When was the last time the police or the military or the BNI will recruit people based on their need? Is it not the politicians that flood the people in there? And whatever we put in there is what you get back. So after 3 or 5 years, you are getting it wrongly. University education, back to security. A semester used to be 13 weeks. Next year, they are doing about 6 weeks. And Hansa Yariga said we are producing unavoidable graduates, and everybody laugh at him. And that is what we are. So it's not just about education, it's just about security. And it's just about everything we are doing wrongly in this country. Creating of jobs has become a major issue for many governments, including the Africa government. We are not being creative and smart about it. You put these guys in the military, in the police, and they don't have sustainable jobs because skills are not going to be transferred automatically because of the nature and the procedure you put them in there.
Right.
So once the process is flawed, a flawed process will turn out people who are not disciplined, who don't take instruction from people, and who want to rely to a political figure, big man somewhere, who will never see to your development. And once you do not respect the people out there, that is what you have. You remember a Michel Camp military officer was harassed during the election.
Right, a WO, a warrant officer.
Which is so inappropriate.
He was in a uniform.
Exactly. And once he's even not in a uniform and the guy says that I have served, it's not everybody who have the opportunity to serve.
Right.
And you know that. So all of us who have served before, if today a police officer is asked to arrest me, you have to give me that credence because I have served.
Right.
Let alone giving you instruction and you are flouting it. We are destroying this country. We are destroying Africa, and we need to wake up to reality and begin to do it properly.
Somebody is asking where the evidence is, and I'm going back right to Ayawaso West Wugon. I saw DSP Azugu. A DSP is a 2-star, 3-star, beg your pardon. Now, he was right in the heat of the action, and you could tell from the videos he was screaming out commands to the people to stop, and they were not stopping.
No, it's horrible when you take do see a gun was fired in the presence of a law enforcement officer, and yet the law enforcement officer could not act. Recently, we had one of your journalists who became a minister saying that law enforcement officers should go after people who are threatening journalists. Should it take a politician to tell the law enforcement officer to act on a threat? And this is where we are as a nation. See, I'm telling you the truth. I can't sleep. And I've not been sleeping for many days and many months. We are so much afraid for this country that many of the things we are doing, they are so artificial. And the standard procedures are not being followed. Particularly when it comes to the area of security. The way we are bombarding the places and politicians who say, I've sent 400 people here. You see, security is a calling. It's like being a being a pastor. It's not everybody who is qualified to serve.
But then who do you blame? Because there's a hierarchy. If you go to the police, there's an IGP. The IGP has acolytes who are COPs. It trickles down to DCOPs, to ACPs. It goes all the way down. You go to the military.
See how they were appointed.
There's a lieutenant general who has major generals, who has a brigadier general, who has colonels. It goes all the way down. There is a structure. You don't get in if you are not qualified. So if a politician brings you a list and they are not qualified, where do you take them?
Conscience. Everything has been bought and they have bastardized everybody. You remember some politicians can say that when you finish serving in the military, I can employ you as a watchman.
Right.
They think becoming a security officer is just watching over, some sort of, that's their mentality. And I blame many of these guys at the top of these security agencies who cannot bite. And they are so much afraid to resign from their jobs. There's no government that can function without the input of the security officers. And that leads me to the next question, how we usher in and enthrone our president. We have bastardized this constitution that is not right, but it's not the same constitution they've all been referring to.
Right.
Why should you, as a security officer, be so much afraid to speak that a politician thinks that you are so low down there and you don't have any degrees or any experience and they could just walk over you and you accept it? That is where we are going. And it's so dangerous for this country, and it's dangerous for the next generation. Then I'm telling you, you have friends in the military, the police, and everywhere. Ask them. They are so much divided among themselves as a result of how some of these things are done. Take the police, for instance. There has been this school of thought that in some jurisdictions, 7 officers don't become the IGPs. Why are we not pushing it for that? And you have IGP. See, Apietu was a very professional police officer.
Right.
Very experienced professional. He used to sleep in the market to prevent fire outbreaks in the market. When they bring him here. Apietu, very professional officer. But you saw how he was bastardized? And you saw how he was humiliated and sacked because some other people use politics to undermine him. And that is where you are having the structure failures and the institutional failures and unprofessionalism and lack of training and resources. One of the critical issues among the police and the BNI and the military is that they may have even limited resources, but how to assign them becomes a major problem because of internal political issues, that once you don't belong to this political party, you are not given certain rightful positions, and the experienced people are watching, and you are putting novices there, and that is where the issue is.
Is that why, for example, a former executive secretary to the IGP, Superintendent Tobu, would leave the police service
and become a politician?
To Parliament? Exactly. The wife of Kwanzaa, former MP from Fansman, would leave her job as an ASP to become a parliamentarian. Is that why?
Because politics is what pays in this country, and politics recruit almost everybody in this country. And you know why he's a management consultant. They will tell you, I hold MBA finance and I've done this consultancy for years. What GT Bank gives us is so better than all these people. So we celebrate GT Bank. Watch this one here. When institutions are badly managed, and fraud has become a tool for manipulation, the best workers, they will exit quietly behind the back door. In our year when we enter, you know, when Tutu came, he wrote to Dolapo and said that this particular group who came from America and Britain, and I've trained them for 3 months, within 5 years, all of them will leave the bank, and all of us left. Not because the institution was managed badly, but they want us to go out there and become more productive, and we bring businesses back to the bank. And that is what we did. We can do it. We have people in this country who can do it. We are allowing politics to take so much space. And we are talking about job creation. When you have crumble and destroy small businesses, and you have crumbled the public space, and you need the public space to be creating jobs, that is why they could be recruiting 1, 2, 3, 4 and take pressure off government. But government want to do everything and you crumble the public space. There's going to be insecurity because lack of employment creates national security issues. There's going to be tension in the public space. There's going to be problem for the politicians themselves, and the national development agenda will be curtailed. And that is where you are having the issues. These are not hardcore issues that you need a soothsayer.
Where do we begin from the correction process? I'll ask Kwame the same question, but where do we begin the correction process?
We will need to be bold enough, we will need to be confident enough and say no to politicians when they want to violate the standard protocols.
Any rank about, from Colonel all the way up has to go to the presidency to be okayed. Any rank from ACP all the way up, ACI in terms of immigration all the way up, has to go to the politician to say you are qualified to wear that rank.
And I'm so surprised that most of my big boys in immigration and SERPs and military and the BNI and the police, I know when I speak the listing, they have become so coward and so naive that they allow these small boys in politics to speak to them anyhow because they think their daily bread comes from them. It is wrong, and they must rise up because we swear an oath to defend this country and not to a king or to a queen or to any politician. And that is how come some of us, our names scares them, because we stood for the right thing. And many of the people who trained me over the years are so proud of what we do today as individuals. How much more all of them coming together, doing the right thing, and the right thing will be that. Can you imagine President Rawlings giving a counter instruction to Peter Nafori or Kojoti Kata or Yadonko or whoever who led the BNI National Security Coordinating Council to do the wrong thing? You dare not. why are my big bosses and my uncles, Chamate and all, Mr. Chairman, all those guys are sitting down, and our institutions that we love and we fought for and did everything to protect the sovereignty and the integrity of this country is being destroyed by politicians, and they are not doing anything about it. I think prosperity and posterity will judge us when we all die one day.
Where do we begin, Kwame? And I'm asking this because we are training marketers, but we are not producing. So what are they selling?
I would take it from the security area
Right.
and bring it to where you've just spoken about. You see, Hughes, when your mother is dead and you say she's asleep, definitely it will be 6 o'clock dinner time. And then we will find out where you will go and eat dinner. Okay, you can choose to pretend and pretend and pretend and pretend, but the practicality will expose you. On the security angle, I'll take what happened in, say, Techiman South. Okay? I have said it and I've written on my Facebook wall and other social media places that I don't even believe that the people that actually shot the weapons were official military or police people.
Why do you doubt it?
I doubt it because this thing happened about 3 weeks ago. Or
And the military has not used
about 3 weeks ago.
Right.
The military hasn't come out to own those personalities, that this officer is warrant officer this or sergeant that with ID number this, and we are investigating the issue so we will keep the public informed. And that is very, very unlike the military. That is very, very unlike the police if they're doing their job right. So why haven't any of the security agencies come up to say, these people were our men, blah, 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 we are investigating or we're doing this or we're doing that. Then you take it from there. I'm not a military person. I love security, so I read a lot about security. There is no operation, there is no military or police major operation that doesn't go through a pre-operation brief before they go out there to go and work. There is no military or police serious operation that doesn't debrief
That's right.
when the operation is over.
That's right.
Okay.
Standard procedure.
Exactly. So the question here is that what was the briefing before the operation? Was it done in a manner that, okay, you can be trigger happy, or you can use live ammunitions, or you need to use rubber bullet because it's national elections, you need to focus on public safety and whatnot and what. What was the briefing before the operation and what was the briefing post-operation? Why is nobody talking about anything? And you see, the reason why I believe that those people are not military men is that in spite of the fact that the politicians are trying to spoil the integrity and the rigorous and effective process of employing or signing on people as military men, after the politician has done that, there is serious training that you have to go through to wear that uniform of pride.
Do they go through the serious
You
training?
remember some guys were taking through training and they said they were going to sue the military.
Why, for some 500?
Yes, because the training was a bit too high.
Yes.
And for that matter, somebody brought them in. And they even had the audacity to tell the military that they're not going to go through the training
Because
and
they
they're going to
paid
be
to go-
sued.
yes.
And guess what? This election has election task force headed by the IGP. So even if the military and co are not taking responsibility, let the media go to the IGP. I say, IGP, you have had an election. You are the head of the task force, and there has been some infractions. Yes. What have you done about it?
What are you saying about
Okay, so bringing to that, the IGP, after, sorry about that, I have to bring this in quickly. Okay. The IGP post the elections as chairman of the security task force, met the press, and a bit of the speech here says, distinguished ladies and gentlemen, members of the press, I welcome you all, blah, 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 to, he goes on. He says, well, investigation of incidents It must be emphasized that the conduct of this year's elections was not devoid of some violent incidents, which nearly marred the smooth conduct of the elections. This regrettably resulted in 5 deaths and injuries to 17 persons, including security officers. Our condolences go to the family of the bereaved, and we wish the injured speedy recovery. Now, what's the second one? I'll find it quickly and share so that we know. And this, by the way, was read out right after the elections by the IGP at the police headquarters. Yeah. And then he goes on to say, we wish to assure all Ghanaians that all recorded incidents are currently being investigated in line with our criminal justice and the rule of law procedures. The outcome of the investigations would be duly brought to the notice of the good people of this country. We'll find out what the duration says. But it says deployment strategy. It's important to highlight that we rolled out a 4-tier deployment strategy for the elections, which revolved around static duties at the polling stations and collation centers, mobile patrols, rapid response teams, and reserve teams. The core election duty was at the polling station, and, well, it says the military, together with the various operating units of the Ghana Police Service, were deployed for backup emergency situations. The military was not involved in the duties at the polling stations, but they were called in under rapid response and emergency situations only. The impression being created that the military was used at the polling station is therefore not correct. And he says, well, security measure during post-election phase. I wish to assure all law-abiding citizens and Ghanaians that appropriate security measures have been put in place to guarantee maximum security in the accordance of our constitutional mandate. We will continue to maintain law and order during the post-election phase to ensure that people go about their normal activities devoid of intimidation and attacks. Let me sound a word of caution to any person or group of persons who intend to foment trouble to desist from such acts, because we will deal decisively with such. This is what the IGP told the media.
Yes, but let me take it from the first one you read. Everything the IGP said in the first one you read is what everybody knows already. Okay? Yes, because we know that people died. We know that people got injured. We know that the police were there. He has just told us in the second one that the military was on call and they were not stationed at
the polling
station. So that's vital information. That's fine. But the first one, he's just telling us
what has happened.
Everything that everybody knows. Why are we sort of shading off from ownership? First of all, you should let us know that the people that are alleged to have committed these issues are our people.
You own them.
You own up that they are your people. And then from there, you can tell us what you're doing going forward. So per this communique, come February next year, if the IGP comes and says that, okay, we have done our investigations and we've realized that the people who we have evidence that committed these crimes are not police people. The people that we saw on the video, or we have proof that shot live bullets into the electorates, are not military people.
But they couldn't have had uniforms and the kind of sophisticated weapons
but
that
you
they
see,
had.
that is where, yes,
AK-47.
That is where the problem is. Because I still stand, and I stand to be corrected, but I just have a gut feeling that those people that shot live bullets into the electorates are not regular military or police people.
You introduce a word, regular.
Yes.
You said they were not military, and you introduce a word, regular. You think they just brought them in, and for purposes of election, they rushed them.
Because you see, we've had elections in this country before.
No,
even before
this are the police IGP. Somebody fired a shot.
Yes.
The person owned up to say, I fired the shot.
That's how I come sing.
Yes.
And the IGP said it was investigating.
Yes.
The question is, what are you investigating?
Yes.
Is it the nature of the gun you used?
Yes.
Or the person who fired the shot?
Yes.
The time at which it was fired?
Yes.
And the IGP says that he was investigating. And the IGP knows very well that lack of punitive actions rationalize awkward behavior.
Right.
So you can be very sure to say that 200 years ago, like you are saying,
Yes.
the IGP can come back and say, out of the investigations.
Yes,
these
let me
guys are
buttress the
wanted.
point that you just made. In fact, the police officer who actually invited Hawa Kumsin to question her on what happened at the place and why she shot the
Central
gun.
Regional Command. Yeah.
Yes. I used to have this man's name. I've forgotten.
It was transferred.
Immediately after that invitation, that guy was sent somewhere very far away. So you see the depth of how politics have messed up almost everything in this country is very, very, very deep.
Is that not the same thing we did in the matter of the now 4 dead Takrady girls? The CID who aided them to escape, the criminal to escape, was later transferred with his boss.
Yes.
Yeah.
You know, so politics have messed
And we
up.
came up and closed the docket
Yeah.
in the funny way we did. And these are guys who also have children. You know what you are doing? You are inviting trouble. Because when somebody else's child died, you close the docket the way you did. And when your child died, you want people to come to the funeral. We must do it properly. And we can't do it. Let's just stand up and be truthful to our conscience and say that this is not the way it must be done. And something is wrong. And let's fix it.
Richard, you have served before. These days, folks complain that they're seeing too many uniformed people with bushy beard. I know that there's supposed
There's
to
one
be
with earrings.
some caveat that says on medical grounds people can wear their beard.
It's not appropriate.
However, if
Don't
you
they-
have
don't go, it's
no,
not
I'm just
appropriate.
asking you. You have served before. Does it look and Kwame sort of has an intuition that says that he believes that these people are not, trained people.
Even when you have the
If they
64,
were, somebody
even
would
when
own
you
them.
have the 64
Commando.
they were regularized. So when things happen, you know who to speak to, and they could be brought. The system we are having now, they are militia, and you introduce militia into the regularized institutions like the police and the military and all manner of places, and even the cutoff age were reduced, and you put in people who are just about going retirement, and people who have been on contract for 700 years, you are still maintaining them there. You get it? So they have just abused everything, decomposed everything, and putting in people who have no business being there. That is how can they cannot be disciplined. That is how can objectivity is thrown out, and that's how can there's no professionalism. Their conduct and everything shows that, hey, the standard procedure says that we are not doing so. Don't do it. But whoever brought him is allowed them to do it. And you know the danger. No. They will not be having a career, a successful career. Right from the year 2000, I have followed many of the guys, politicians, jump into the police. And they will tell you, they will look for visa and go out and go and struggle and come and be broke and die, and we bury them. They will not be having successful career. You know why? Successful career means that you've gone
progressing.
through, exactly, you've gone through the processes. And all those who shortcut their development processes, you put them at the top and they create problem for you.
The NDC says it will not stop the protests. Its Deputy General Secretary yesterday, when they announced to us that they were going to court, said they will not stop the protest because 8 people have died. And those people deserve justice, and they cannot bring a civil action against whoever it is because they consider it as murder. And murder is actionable by the state. So until the state institutes an action, they will not sleep. The IGP says we are investigating. In between the two, we will continue protesting until you do something. We are investigating. What should we as a people do? Should the NDC hold on with the protests? Should the IGP speed up? What's there?
It shouldn't be the NDC protesting for the right thing to be done. We saw people being shot at. The IGP has acknowledged that people have been killed. It shouldn't take a politician to prompt the IGP that we should do something about it. What does it take to investigate a murder case? Had it not been smartphone, somebody would have been lying that there were no shots, but we saw it. Even without their faces and their skin color, we'll be able to say that you are the one who shot the gun.
In fact, some of the shots are from the press.
Yeah, and they were standing there. They were evidencing. We don't need so much drama about one group demonstrating. We don't even need the NDC to demonstrate in the first place for the IGP to do the right thing. Because do you know why?
No.
The guys who died, their parents or they themselves might have worked, and their tax money is what the IGP is living on. The IGP and his family, and the uniform he wears. And so he owed them a duty of care and a responsibility to the state, for which these guys are citizens of the state, and they must rise up and do the right thing.
Coming.
Yeah.
You know, continue the protest. That's what the NDC says.
Yeah.
IGP says we are investigating. In the meantime, what do we do?
I don't think that I would rise up and protest because the NDC says we must protest. And you know me, I am more interested in systems and institutions than these political parties. So I think it is a duty call for Ghanaians to find out, to make sure, whether it's through protests, whether it's through whatsoever, to make sure that the right investigation is done, to make sure that the culprits are brought to book, to make sure that they see the end of this thing from the beginning to the end. They see through everything that is going on in terms of investigations and how the people are going to be punished. And then also how we can take advantage of this bad situation that has happened to improve upon security operational deployments and what has to go in there and what doesn't have to go in there. Because for me, everything that happens for a reason. It's just like what these elections have presented us as a country. It's brought so many wide-thinking, new thoughts, new situations that we've been found amiss. I mean, there are things that are happening now that hasn't happened before, and it's making us shake. What is going to happen in Parliament, what is happening with the injection in Hohoe and all. These are all new things that are happening. So I would like to take this security situation as something that we should learn from it. Things must happen because of what has happened. Okay? Are we going to have rules and regulations that says that, okay, live bullets are not allowed in any election gathering, monitoring, or whatsoever? After all, the English police walk around the whole country without a weapon, and they still they do their job.
They have body cams.
They have body cams.
Your people don't have them. They
so
have
is it?
bulletproof vests. We spoke about it.
So
they said we'll procure some. We see them walking in town without them. Vice President Baumia promised that following the death of Chief Inspector Ashilevi, we're going to have CCTV cameras in every police station. We don't have them. Yesterday, I drove through town, street lights dead, but we have Christmas decoration.
Yes.
So every step of the way, as a people, and when you speak about these things, people want to put you in a certain tag, which is quite unfortunate, forgetting that once it goes south, it affects all of us.
Even the police people are in chaos. Police people, they are in chaos.
They're sleeping in kiosks.
No, that's
the police barrier.
Police barrier and checkpoint.
Yeah. They are in chaos. Should there be fire outbreak?
There's one at La Paz, actually.
And you are not taking care of the welfare of the people, and you expect them to perform magic or something.
I remember that when that gentleman shot the police MTTD guy, followed him, deliberately shot him on top of the motorbike at the Kaswa area and was trying to flee, and he was arrested. I don't know what has happened to that matter. We said we're going to get body cam for the police. We don't have the body cams as we speak.
You see, because
so now
we have
you are sending me as a policeman to go and provide security, and I don't have the requisite capacity.
We have misplaced priorities, Hughes, because let me take it from here. Your president, who is a politically elected leader of the country, appoints your IGP. He appoints your CDS, or what's it called?
Yes, CDS, right.
Yes, he probably appoints the head of prisons, the head
of
immigration,
Comptroller General.
Yes. So how on earth do you think that you're going to have a system of integrity? The man sits at the top of the administration of this country. He is making the appointments. He has intentions to look good in front of his people. And he has intentions sometimes when they're in their first term to go for a second term. So he is surely going to manipulate these agencies to his advantage. Why, as a people, why is it that we cannot sit down and say that this thing doesn't help this country? And for that matter, the appointments of CDS, the appointments of IGP, and the appointments of heads of security agencies must come from a different body, a constituted body.
ACP Dr. Agojo said it in a training of some police officers.
And he was in trouble.
He said it. Well, we all know what happened.
He was,
Bella,
he was conspired against.
Thank you. Let's read some messages. This one says, good morning, Johnny. In fact, the security analyst, Mr. Richard, the security analyst you brought this morning to your program is just too much, and I like his presentation and his fluency. He's frank, and he's a man of courage. If Ghana should have 10 of his type, will become the mother of democracy in the whole world. He's the type who wants the betterment of our country, Ghana. May God bless him and his family. Abdallah Senate West. And Dr. Kwame Otrick Darko spoke truth. People are asked to pay 10,000 Ghana cedis to get into immigration service. People are passing out and still forms were never sold. 3,000 Ghana cedis to 5,000 Ghana cedis for GES. Collins H. Kumasi Dichemso. Good morning, TV3, and God bless you for all you're doing for Mother Ghana. It's very interesting how politicians can comfortably plan to bring division, enmity, and confusion among a group of people who once upon a time stayed together as families for their selfish gains, all in the name of creating new regions or constituencies. And we're all quiet until the good people of Lolobi and Hohoi start killing themselves. Well, God bless our homeland Ghana and raise fearless and faithful soldiers to stand for nothing but the truth. That's from Dr. Ray inside Ho. Good morning, TV3. In fact, your panelists are splendid. Both Mr. Richard and Mr. Darko are indeed optimistic, and these are the people we need as a country to avoid this mess. Abdul Latif Tili Siba Damango. Good morning, Johnny. I find it very difficult if I see people blaming the police. What do you want the police to do? They're doing their best. It's factually incorrect for anyone to say he can't sleep. Ghana is safe and we don't have any insecurity issues. Haj Ahmed from Nima. Johnny, I'm enjoying the show this moment. A break from the noisy rhetoric of politicians. This is what we need to encourage moving forward. We need experts to talk about the reality instead of politicians defending their masters even when it is clearly wrong. Edmond Apintian from Kumasi Adum. Good morning, Johnny. In any social mishap, we seem to be putting the blame on the security. Meanwhile, much of the problem emanates from the citizens' attitude towards security. We need to sit up. That's from Adam Swale Tema. Good morning. Please plead with the government on our behalf to retain us, NAPCO trainees, in our various workplaces because it will be painful if we work for 3 years and are asked to go home. Hello, good morning, Johnny. I'm Osukenite Chief from Taifa, Burkina. I'm elated that the NDC has finally resorted to the Supreme Court to address their grievances. Good morning, sir. I think I side with the gentleman emphasizing on the insecurities within the country. We don't even have hope in the Ghana Police Service because it has now been politicized. That's from Teria Delali. Good morning, Johnny. Talking about our security system, people are sent to training for just 3 months without any weapon handling, and you see them with rifles. Same thing in immigration, police, prisons, and fire service. No forms are out, but people are training as we speak. Richard, God will bless you. Good morning, Johnny. I believe bringing these experts to your program is a feather in your cap for our education. Okay, Ability Hughes, West Legon. That's it, Johnny.
Thank you very much, Bella. Let's wrap up. Richard, what will be the takeaway? Where do we go from here? How do we turn around that situation? Of course, the problems are enormous, but how do we repair them? If you had the president's ear for a second, what would you say to him?
Before addressing the president, let me say that in immigration, my mother, Madam Jokuto, Auntie Baba, who is the lawyer, Mr. Frifa, the director of operations, Mr. Tichi, and Felix Sapon, and you get to immigration, Damoli, and you get to police, Kofi Boachi, and Adolphine, and Atiluk, and all those guys must rise up. Let my big uncle and my father in the BNI, Mr. Chairman, rise up to the occasion. Let the CDS and everybody rise up and say, this is the country we have, and we are professionals who work within political parties, and we are not politicians. And in so doing, our objectivity is what keeps the state and not the political instruction. And in doing so, we will come to a level playing field where the politicians will have a line they will never dare to cross, because when they cross it, they will be sorted out. Now to the president.
If they, sorry about that, we'll go to the president, but they work in a regimented space. Yeah. The IGP answers to the interior minister. The interior minister answers to the chairman of the police council, which is the vice president. The vice president answers to the president, who is the national security boss. Now, they work in a regimented space. Pretty much like we expect subordinates to take instruction from superiors and all the way to the IGP. The IGP needs to take instruction from his boss.
Not really. At a time, they have a direct line. The issue here is that the president has security briefing, national security briefing.
That's right. On a daily basis.
On a daily basis. The legal advisor to national security is my big brother, Harvard lawyer. He's the one who put me on TV. And he's watching. He's watching. He's the one who put me on TV. He's a lawyer.
So he knows.
Exactly. He has served in the BNI. He's an intelligence trained officer. And this is not what we are known to be. And it's not always the case that they have a direct line to the president. They have a direct line to the vice president. And their words matters the most, because they determine what the security intelligence situation is. And they tell the president what to be done and what not to be done.
Right.
The IGP serves as a technical advisor to the Ministry of Interior, which I agree.
That's right.
They have to do it properly. And now to the president, he must do better in the second term. So it be that he's the president. And when they said he's not the president, he must accept and go home. And so long as he remains on the seat to 7 January, the good Lord is watching us, our ancestors are watching us, and the children unborn are watching us. And the history books will love to have our names in the books. And whatever each of us do, in whichever capacity, in whichever position we are, we will give an account. And there's a God out there who is looking out for every human being. Ghana is the only country we have, and we must do better than we are doing now.
Thank you. Kwame, if you had the ears of the president, what would you tell him to turn things around?
All right, just to get our viewers to understand this, I know you're doing your job, but IGP reporting to Interior,
Right,
Interior
right.
reporting to that, this one reporting to that. Okay, that is true.
I'm just stating the structure.
Yes, you're stating the structure. But also, there is what we call the code of conduct.
Right.
Okay? Inside that reporting lineup, there are structures and rules and regulations and what you can do and what you cannot do. If all these people will just work within that frame, it means that, yes, you will still report to the Interior Minister.
Sorry.
By procedure, but the Interior Minister cannot tell you what to report. You see, there's a difference between a structure and then an influence structure.
Exactly.
So the structures nobody is saying is bad. Okay, structures must work, but if you're working within the accepted structural space, and you're working within the code of conduct, we will not have any problems. If you report to the president and the president cannot tell you to report in a certain manner, then the president cannot change anything you do. You're doing your job. Let's take the media security thing for example. Media personalities are coming out speaking about threats and how people are threatening them and how they're not safe and how they are not what and how it is because they themselves have broken their code of conduct. What is journalism about? Is to report as it is, when it was, and how it happens. But if you if within the code of conduct you step out and start aligning your reportage for a particular interest, then you're exposing yourself to security problems. You understand me? I'm a journalist. I came here, I saw 2 cameras. I saw Hughes and I saw my brother Richard. I've reported it as it is.
Facts only.
Yeah, exactly. But if I toe a line and say that, yes, I know that my brother Richard is an MPP person, so that is why he said it. And that is why John also did that. I have taken a position. I am not reporting as it is, and for that matter, I'm exposing myself.
You're adding opinions.
Yes,
right?
yes.
But then the question is, if somebody, you share an opinion, he shares an opinion, nobody threatens you. If a journalist shares an opinion, must he be threatened? Is he not a citizen, first of all, before he becomes
Usually
a
we
journalist?
have to be truthful to ourselves. The threats come when people on the outside of the media have followed your reportage for some time, and they are able to pick up evidence that you are aligned to a particular area. There's nothing wrong with being aligned with an ideology.
Exactly.
There's nothing wrong with that.
Exactly.
But to be aligned with a particular political party, and let's be truthful, I mean, these things are happening also because of financial gains. We have to be truthful. The journalists and the media people have to be truthful to themselves. A lot of people are aligning because of what they will get from where they are aligned. But then they should also know that that comes with some kind of risk.
Okay, we got to go. Richard, I'll ask you a very final one. Should we get to the point where we start having ex-security people being appointed as ministers to superintend over the respective agencies, like the police, the military? So you have a former military general or a colonel serving as a defense minister, instead of a politician from nowhere who has no security background, who may just be popular among his people, who sounds a bit strict. They say, okay, go to the defense ministry. Then you have somebody who is a bit stern. They say, oh, go and become interior ministry. Should we depart from that practice and have ex-security people serve there such that they understand the language and they can flow with the time?
Today you are taking me on, and the best is coming out of me. These are things I've written about severally. I have a particular problem when politicians are hovering around security issues. So, for instance, I have a problem having Ministry of National Security with a politician hovering around the Blue House or the Blue Gate.
Blue Gate, right.
Because these are standardized structures we follow. Then whatever comes out as an intelligence go through processes. And it is processed for national development, not only with a political interest, but a national interest, taking account into global happenings and whatever. Do you know the developed countries we deal with them, all decisions are made based on intelligence?
Right.
And do you know all the ambassadors are, most of them are intelligence officers?
That's right.
Check the people we appoint as ambassadors. And why are we sending them to particular countries? George Bush's father was in China, and all of them. Putin was in Germany, and all of them. Paul Kagame was the security intelligence officer to the Uganda guy. Check their background. So we have a standardized structure where even the welfare of the former officers should be taken care of. That is how come skills can be transferred. You see, what I do here, they are watching me now. That's the community I represent. All of them watch, and they will say, Richard, say this next time. You didn't say this one right. Okay. They have an input into what I do. That's why what I do it seriously. With the system you are proposing, that should be the best thing. When I become the president, it's going to be different thing. You don't have business becoming Minister of Defense when you have no business there and you don't know what goes on there. There will be no politician near sensitive, we call them sensitive structures. And that is the best way to do it. So that when we are appointing people, it's not just the skills they have, but it's about what they bring on board and the value they attach in relation to the relationship within the community development. Right. Otherwise, bro, it creates all manner of things. You see, Matiamidu has the problem because he was a politician, and people are not willing and able to give him a confidential information. And once you have those things playing up, the investigative side of it is based on classified information and what you will write about. So what he resorted to was to use the open source by writing official letters. It doesn't add up, and it's just a minute aspect of what you can do in getting it. He and I know that Dolapo was the head of the GT Bank, and they are structured. But we can walk to Dolapo's office any day, anytime, on the corridor, in the breakfast room, and any day, and decisions are taken. That is what the Japanese call just in time and quality purposes. That's right. That things are distributed on the same level, and it makes life easier for everybody.
Okay, thank you. Mr. Richard Kumado, he is fraud and security expert. He's joined us here this morning. Also, Kwame Otre-Dako, he's a development consultant, business development consultant, and also a democratic activist. Gentlemen, thank you very much, as always, for coming. And if you enjoyed the show, I know you do by your comments, you did. Be a good citizen out there. Speak up if you have to speak up, and let your voice count, because this is the only country we have. Good morning to you, Mr. President. Mr. President, the ball is in your court. You hold it. Leadership is cause. Everything else is effect. We are looking up to you for leadership, direction, and vision. We know what the problems are. We have said some. You have heard some. You know them. Let's fix it. That's the only way to get up there. Let's fix it. Good morning. See you after the break.